ceremonies to commemorate November 11th. And part of that ceremony often said, we will remember them.
Yes.
We will not forget. Those are nice thoughts. But unfortunately, the truth is, we do forget. As time goes by, as events recede, as memories fade, people pass away, we do forget. For instance, how often do you hear about the Boer War?
That's right.
Or the War of 1812?
Yes.
We never remember those anymore. Those have gone. The problem is that we forget the things we should remember, but we often remember the things we should forget.
Amen.
We forget the horrors of war.
Yes.
We forget the cold and the rain and the constant dampness, the mud, the vermin, the hunger, the starvation. We forget all the hardships that people went through during war. But we remember the battles. We remember the celebrations, the ceremonies, the pomp, the pageantry. We remember all the names of battles because they're recorded in song and in poems and in history books. In fact, they're actually glorified in many ways. Isn't war now put on video games, PS3 games, Call of Duty, combat? Military exercises are actually called war games. But aren't games something that we should enjoy, want to do, have fun at? Is war something we should want to do, enjoy? During the First and Second World Wars, it's estimated that 140 million people died. And most of these were not combatants, they were mostly civilians. They were mostly civilians who were caught in the conflicts, died of starvation, famine, or exposure. I was one of the lucky ones because I was born at the end of World War II. There's been no major conflicts involving Canada, major conflicts involving Canada, except for the Korean War since that time. But you know, if you look around the globe right now, according to the internet, there's only 11 countries out of all the countries in the world who are not involved in some degree of warfare.
Wow.
Either objectively or as an assistant to somebody else. 11 countries. War is all through the Bible. It starts at the very first, and it doesn't end until the Revelation. It says actually in Exodus 15:3 that the Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. It says in Revelation 12:7, war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon. In Revelations 19, it says, and I saw the beast, the kings of the earth, and their armies gathered together to make war against him who sat on the horse and against the army. War is something we'll never get away from because we do forget. We don't remember the things that we should remember. And we do remember, but we shouldn't. Will war ever come to an end? Apparently not, until we learn the prophecy in Micah. It says, many nations shall come and say, come, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, and we shall walk in his paths. For out of Zion the law shall go forth, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He shall judge between many peoples, and rebuke strong nations far off. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. But everyone shall sit under his vine and under his fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. When that time comes, then perhaps we'll be free of the fear of war. Only one time in history was there ever a period of time without major warfare, and that was the 40 years before the birth of Christ to 160 years afterwards, the Pax Romana. When Rome was such a powerful nation that no other nation on earth dared to challenge it. But eventually, because of poor leadership, it fell. Poor leadership is a cause of the fall of many nations, and often the cause of further wars. Let us pray that this doesn't happen again, ever, at least not soon. But until we follow the edict of Micah, the prophecy of Micah, and nations start turning their swords into plowshares and don't learn war anymore, don't play war games, don't build militaries, unfortunately, there will be war because we never remember. That's something to think about.